Good morning. The chart's up there. Don't forget that. Last trading day. Well, still in the trading range. I mentioned yesterday. It looked like maybe we're going to get out of it today. Hey, the day's not over, right? It's young. Maybe we will. Maybe this is a 50% pullback, give or take, uh, to the up bar yesterday. And, over the weekend, I wrote about a money bar setup that I coined that multiple years ago. And yesterday at the open was kind of a money bar setup. It was more erratic than what I had shown or written about in that chart of the week. But it's the same idea, the same concept, where, and the way I showed it in that article was a wide range bar up, and then, it becomes like a 1, 2, 3. And then the 3 bar is a bottoming tail bar that takes out the low. Well, everything that we do, from the way we do it, price action, it starts with, hey, this is the textbook kind of a setup, right? And that leads into what we call bar by bar analysis, which the essence of bar by bar analysis is multifold. One is to keep you updated about what's really happening versus what you want to happen and what you think should happen. And you're taking those bars and putting them in the context of the current pattern, void, support, resistance, so on and so forth. And the other thing is, we can't know everything that's going to happen. So while we start out with whether it's a 1, 2, 3 pattern or some kind of a buy setup, or what Dan calls a bear sandwich or a bull sandwich, or what we call a 180. It's like, hey, you know what? If it forms that way, I get it. Well, some things don't form the way we put them in an MT live or a course, and it's like, okay, bar by bar analysis. Do you understand these basic concepts? Yes, I do. Okay, now if you understand the concept of, hey, something was a shakeout, which is what this was, right, yesterday, right at the open. So utilizing the futures 24-hour data, you could look at Spider's 24-hour data. What's happened pre-market? Well, it pops up strong. It's not one bar, and it's a few bars, but it's a power. It's a power move, and then it consolidates, and then it whipped down and right back up again. Same concept. And then it started to rally up from there. And then, the rest of the day was 4 hours of brutality of going nowhere. So now, we've got this little down bar here, and odds are going to go nowhere today, I assume, as things are pulling back here. There's nothing to stop it from going down. That doesn't mean it has to. Maybe it comes down around this level or so, these overlapping bars, and buyers will step up on some subjective reference point, whatever that might be, a fib line or who knows what, a whole number, maybe 50% of that bar. But odds are, wherever it does on the downside, it's going to stay within the range that it's been in for the last week. And if it can move back up, it's probably not going to get much further than yesterday's high either, give or take a little bit, right? Yeah, quad witching, whatever. We'll see. I'm just looking at what's going on here. Or, sometimes, and we could look, I don't think we have time to go and look at all the open interests, and we'd look at SPX and the spiders and so on, and we'd probably find, which was what we came into the week, we had relatively tight strikes in SPY. I wrote about this in the letter. High volume that coming into the week on strikes that were very close to each other. And odds are we just weren't going to go much further unless breaking significantly through those levels. And it just didn't happen. And so we just continued to be, just above 3,800. And it can't get up to 3,900. It's just whipping back and forth, back and forth. And so my expectation is it's going to whip back and forth. Probably not going to do too much. So we'll see. We'll look at the other markets. If for whatever reason you didn't read that article, I'll get you the link and you can read it. We'll put more behind that thought in that kind of a bar because it works out really well. Because it's a kind of a shock bar, surprise bar. It's like, oh man, that's going all the way back down, and then it flips right back up again, takes out stops, and then you get some kind of a move. It's not always going to be a move like that because there isn't always a void. Anyway, what are other markets doing? As things inch back down, we see it's just trending lower, and the downside momentum is beginning to back off a little bit. Can pick up again, but so far doesn't have enough of any kind of a bottoming process to say maybe it's made a low here. Notice the little M top up there, the wide range bar, and it flipping back down again. So another concept to think about as you look at as patterns is what we call range expansion bars. Right? Range expansion bars, and then range expansion bars that are negated, which is what happened here in an area of a topping tail bar, or this nasty weekly bar that happened everywhere, a range expansion bar that took out the high. So, understanding some of these concepts and putting them together with other concepts create trading strategies, right? Support, resistance, trends, and so on. All right. Spiders. Right. Had yesterday the gap up, and it came up to the top of the range, and then it stopped. And so now where's it at? Gapping down into the middle of the range. So as we go into this last day of trading, I would say Mr. Schizophrenic is in charge here. Down bar, gap up here, gapping back down. So good question, Tony. Internals. And I hadn't looked at these this morning, but this is interesting because last week, again, I don't know that we're getting out of this range, but look at where this sentiment is from yesterday. And maybe this is part of quad witching. I don't know. It'll reveal itself next year. But one of the things that I spoke about was, many things that we talked about was angle of retracement and the existing bear market and so on. And what I said was typically this in a bear market and after a move like that gets down to around 1.4. And you can see where this is at, but as I eyeball it, it kind of looks like what is all right, 1.3, and maybe the lower part of it hit 1.4. But in prior bear markets, this is what was seen, where sentiment would be coming down and it would plunge through the lower bands, and this static level of 1.2, right? That's, your historic static level, 1.2. And you'd get a short-term low. And so breadth, yesterday was an up day. It improved a bit. It's still below zero. So what does that mean as far as breadth? This is a McClellan oscillator. What it means is the 19 is still below the 39 exponential, right? If it's below zero, the 19 is below the 39. If it gets above zero, the 19 is above the 39. It's kind of like a moving average crossover thing. But, the moving averages start to point up, advancers minus decliners. This line is the difference between those two moving averages. That's all it is. It's really simple, but it works really well. And, so here, it got way down low here, and this is down at minus the 200. It's been improving as prices have gone sideways here, which is typical, but nothing of significance, meaning it couldn't get above zero. Now, yesterday, and one of the things that I keep an eye on during the trading day, right, is this 8 advancers minus decliners. And you could see it was up here at a plus 2,000, where it came out of the block strong. And then it just flatlined and things were flat here. But what we need as intraday traders, especially, is something to keep us connected to what is. And so while this is up here at a plus 2,000, say, well, that's strong for a day. And, while this was flat, it suggests if this is flat up here at a plus 2,000 and the volatility index is declining, and, when I'm looking at the S&P and that's up, kind of up above its 20 MA or so, even if it's flat, it's like odds are low that shorts are going to work really well, right? Something's got to start to fall apart. So internal market gauges are useful to measure the day, whereas the prior day was pretty darn negative, and it wasn't down at minus 2,000 like this one was, right, where things finally got extreme. But these internal market gauges are useful for saying, hey, whatever I think the kind of day is, I mean, I can have an up day, but, this is only at plus 800. It's not as strong as this day was. So they're useful for that. So as far as internals go, they're cooked here. We're going into the end of the year. How much is that affecting things? I'm not sure. That's why I say, it'll show itself next year. But just based on seeing this and assuming that this pattern doesn't collapse today, which I don't think it's going to, this could be part of a bottoming process where the beginning of the year, we get some kind of a rally. And if you go and look at the open interest in SPX, there's a huge standoff of puts versus calls at 4,000. So with this kind of a pattern, if we could clear this week's high at the beginning of the new year, right, I think it might have a rally up to that 4,000 level because of these internals. So that's something to keep in mind while we're dealing with these disgusting kind of go nowhere days. And so we'll see how that plays out. So we'll keep that in mind as a theme, for next week. And we do have a couple of bottoming tail bars on the weekly. So it kind of plays into that, but keeping that in perspective of, hey, this is just within a trading range and against this big range expansion, nasty bar there, as it gets up to 4,000, probably stalls there. And hey, we're just, within, I'm trying to grab this here, just within a bigger trading range. And it comes up in near the 200, and then we'll see where it all goes from there. Right? That's what we do here day to day, week to week, is read these markets in multiple time frames. And hey, is this part of a bottoming process? Is this, a lower high that things are going to dip down again? What's going on with inverted yield curves and all of that we talk about. All right. If you're going to play SPX today, I'm not, but you're gonna want to be below the range and above the range. So if there's premium there, and you're going to want to be, let me just see, there was gapping down about here. You're going to want to be below here, below that 37.50-ish or so level. What we talked about yesterday was 37.40-ish, which was fine, and up above, which was fine. And but I avoided the up above part of it just because of the strength of the gap up. All right. Qs, been the weaker, down near the bottom of the trading range. Maybe spending a little more time here in those internals as they are. Maybe get some kind of rally. But what we'll need to see to that because the theme of this whole year has been interest rates. And if interest rates begin to dip down, maybe those tech shares will have a little bit of a reprieve and a little bit of a rally. If breaks above here, unlikely. So market internals into market analysis tell us what's going on, where to go look. The 5-year moving up toward these pivot highs, and figured it'll stall there. And Fed, and 13-week Treasury bill moved up there a few days ago. It's hanging up there. Nobody thinks in the world that the Fed is going to lower interest rates. And so if this was dipping down, well, that would make me think, hey, something's changing. Right now, nothing's changing. So, yeah, they're going to continue at whatever pace they're going to. We'll find out. Russell had the big green day yesterday. These are the futures. You could look at IWM. Right, there was a smaller gap up, but a decent green day. It closed above those pivots, but couldn't get into the next level. Where are they at here? Gapping about halfway down. There's a void below. So maybe it can keep moving lower. The charts support it. How low? Is it going to crash down here? Probably not. Probably going to, if it goes down to the bottom of the trading range, that's probably about as far as it's going to get. Highs and lows, look to the left. Transports flip-flopped in the trading range. Same story, same thing there. Yesterday, someone asked about the VIX. It's going nowhere. All right, we looked at, was it this chart? Yeah, when it got here, we're down here. We're like, okay, each time it got here, market sold off, and it's just flat in the middle of the range. Doesn't tell us much of anything. Looking there. And so as we look at all this information, sometimes it gives us a good heads up, and other times it's just, hey, there's just nothing much here to go on. The dollar will take a peek. I know it's get a little long here. Doing nothing. Bitcoin doing nothing. Silver unchanged, doing nothing. So gold doing nothing. And crude oil kind of doing nothing after the little turn there. So don't get chopped up today. Last trading day. And those of you out there on the channels, Happy New Year. All the best. And we'll talk in the new year.
Good morning. So I had different scenarios today. We closed bullish. I've been flip-flopping my bias every day this week based on the close. So it's just been not a good swing environment. But I said yesterday, this was a bullish close over yesterday's high. And now we're gapping down, just eyeballing more than half into this. And I said, if we get an inside bar, that'll be perfect, because then I'll set up a more confident first trading week of starting Tuesday. Monday's off. And then it would be bullish over yesterday's high and bearish under Wednesday's low. And that would get the internals more cooked if we sold off for 4 days in January. So it's obviously not earnings season, so I don't have earnings stocks. Well, there's actually just 2 of them here. Mesa, absolutely nothing. It's an airline. And then this UXIN, possible bottoming pattern over yesterday's high. Let me set an alarm at 3:20. UXIN. But yeah, I think today's just going to be probably zero swing trades and maybe some scalps, maybe an iron condor on the SPX. But we'll wait for direction in the first 30 minutes. This little guy I saw popping as Greg was talking. That has a little rhythm to it. It looks like a junk. It's a junk. It looks like a toy. Looks like a day trade penny stock toy, but it's getting pumped today. Civ B. I've actually kept my eye on this for a couple of weeks now. And you know how I talk about a something bar? Yesterday was it. We had a breakdown failure. We had a higher high, 20 flattening out, and a decisive closing breakout. It doesn't have weekly options, but they have out of the money January 170 options. So over yesterday's high, I'm gonna set an alarm right there at the 20 MA. Well, 234.50. But that's a nice bottoming pattern. The only reason I was looking at Planet Fitness is they were on CNBC saying that they are sponsoring the ball drop in New York. So I pulled it up and well, wow, that is a bullish consolidation. Similar to a cat. Look, cat. Look at that thing. Look at there's a number of them. Look at X-ray, sloppier, but 180 reversal, breakout weekly. That's on my list. The low oil. It's a continuation pattern. If it can take out the week's high, there's a void. I got my alarm set already. Starbucks, we're already in. Pulling in a little bit, but whole X, here's another one, bullish consolidation, bullish weekly. We're in it already, but over yesterday's high, you can add. Algen, looks like it's gapping down a little bit. We sold the 197.50 put spread on that yesterday. Transports, wouldn't touch it unless it got over Wednesday's high. Housing a tad stronger to 180 reversal, deep into resistance over yesterday's high, if that happens. Even with rising interest rates, I'm going to set an alarm at 61.10 and the market gapping down. There's no reason this should take out yesterday's high. But there's my alarm. Cala, I've been watching this the last 2 days, a little buy pharma, whatever, but it's gone too much. Ring, just another beat up stock. Look at this thing, $450. I mean, that just makes no sense to me. During Corona, we'll have people buying doorbell cameras. Like, it just makes no sense. But that's beat up. RH, we sold a put spread yesterday, but it looks good as an ad over yesterday's high. SMG, another beat up one. Finally got a turn here. I got a multi-bar week turn on support. So that's a put spread watch. Momo, we entered Wednesday, went against us a little bit. Beautiful close yesterday. Now it's gapping down, not good. I don't know if that has anything to do with these Chinese stocks. Look at Futu. Hey, that's all the way down to 200. Let me put that in the window. Something I read, they're online brokerage stocks or something. And do you remember yesterday morning? I said there is high risk trading Chinese stocks. I said the government just any day can come out, open its mouth, and your stock can get a whacking. Well, guess what? Here's exhibit A. That's a bear 1, 2, 3, and today it's getting whacked. And this little thing, tiger, also similar competitive. Wow. Look at this 334 gapping. That's a carnage gap. Thomas, Daku. And Daku, you got to tell me what your question is. I have no idea. I think we have a put spread on this, right? We entered a couple. We entered a couple put spreads yesterday. No, we're not in this. Daku is one that I have on my 1, 2, 3 list. On the weekly options creator, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 8 open trades now. But yeah, Daku, there's a number of these. I said I would love an inside bar, and then 1, 2, 3 is for Tuesday. Again, Monday holiday. I would not buy this over yesterday's high because of this resistance to the left. But 1, 2, 3s would be great. Raul on YouTube asking about Otis. You got to say Otis, my man, whenever you say Otis. Now this is actually kind of a potential head and shoulders. And we're always on the lookout for these, because a potential head and shoulders is also a reversal on support, right? And this had a little 180 reversal. So yeah, over yesterday's high, it looks bullish. You got a bullish weekly. I'll put it on the list. Oh, exactly. Correct, Alex. And that's why I remember they were talking about delisting them in the US because they can't meet the listing requirement of an audit. Exactly right. Charlie, India, they said something about earnings, and then also there was some mention in the journal about their reinsurance rates. LUV is still getting blasted in the media, and rightfully so. I mean, they're the kicking boy of the industry right now over this holiday mess they created. And then some guy on CNBC, some congressman said, do you remember during Corona, it was my knowledge the government gave the airlines 30, maybe 33 billion. And people were kicking and screaming, saying, why do you want to bail them out? Let them go bankrupt. And then so this guy on CNBC today said the government gave them $90 billion. And so that's part of the fuss of, hey, we bailed you all out, and you know what's going on. But we'll let the politicians deal with that. Hey, Roger, there's our Futu. SIG over yesterday's high, set an alarm. These are all left over now from yesterday. X-ray, if it closes here, beautiful 1, 2, 3. UXIN also 1, 2, 3. Why am I looking at this? Oh, this is his earnings stuff. This is if it closes here, no brainer. 1, 2, 3 from a bottoming pattern. I have it here in the bottom right. I'll keep an eye on it. On WMS, you know, I wish it was a more potent reversal. I got an alarm over these highs. BlackRock was shorted a put spread yesterday. Cream, deeper tracement, but over yesterday's high. TGTX sounds like a bio, but hey, it's actually, if you look at the pre-market data is a buy setup on the 15. See that? So over this last 15-minute bars high, that could give you a day trade. TTC alarm. Okay, we're stopping out of this. MDB. This one I was hoping for a 1, 2, 3. We actually have a put, no, we did a put spread yesterday, 1 DTE, and we took our money. So see, we're not having to sit through this gap. But now it's a deep retracement. So I'm not going to get my 1, 2, 3. This I think is a bio also, PCVX, but strong. Fitch. Fitch. This would be a one. This would be a double 1, 2, 3. You had a minor 1, 2, 3 bottoming pattern. Now we get another 1, 2, 3. That looks higher if it closes here. Twilio bottoming pattern, cat. Still just cat. You know, cat's a go-to. Pan W still trying to work on the turn. EDU. I still like daily, weekly, monthly. I'm gonna watch this thing. All right, yields going up a little. GNW. This is Alex, your core. I'm watching. RH. We sold puts on this yesterday. It's a bearish gap, but nothing to do with it. VIX. Still doing nothing. Microsoft. Tesla. Hey, our Tesla turned green. We shorted the Futu's moving. So this was the one that got killed. Futu. Look at that, right at the 200. Let me see how juicy these puts are. Even 0 DTE. 4